Morning all. Last night Bonnet Elizabethans played Wood Green at home, Wood Green Chess Club. I was playing David Cutmore, a very good player, around the same rating as me at the moment. I was playing black. So David Cutmore, he kicked off with d4, and I've played him in the past with the King's Indian defence and sometimes reached unpleasant positions, and I thought I'd surprise him here with my opening choice, which was a check Benoni, so c5, encouraging white to play d5, and now e5. Okay, so this strategy here does have a slight downside of weakening a lot of light squares. If I'm going to follow up with d6, this light square bishop can sometimes be exchanged off by white, and if white plays e4, black wants to trade off this bishop for this one. So the colour complex strategy is usually fairly clear cut, but in this game it didn't really involve that kind of colour complex strategy. David played c4. After d6 he didn't play something like g3, which might be popular for bishop h3, but instead knight c3 was played, and I thought, why not play f5? I'm not sure how theoretically good this is, but it seems quite aggressive, and it kind of can get a King's Indian style position that I like, so I thought, why not play f5 here? He plays g3 after knight f6, bishop g2. Now I play g6, and now he plays e4, and I don't really want to take on e4. I want to keep the tension going here, so I play bishop g7. After knight ge2, he's really controlling f4, which is one of the ideas of this setup for white, to control f4 against black playing f4. I don't really want to play it as a pawn sack. It does seem quite unsound. On the other hand, you know, I'm not too displeased at this moment with my position. I castle bishop g5, which I thought might be a little bit of a time loss, but he is softening up my king side. And as we're going to see later, this could have been quite critical when I play now h6. I am loosening my king side, king safety. Bishop d2, although you could argue, well, has he lost a bit of time? But the bishop's good there. It is supporting a potential battery. Knight a6, he castles knight c7. My idea with this knight maneuver, well, e6 might be vulnerable in the future, but also a6 and b5. If I'd played a6 immediately, then my knight's difficult to do anything with on b8, really. So, okay, here he plays f4, and I take this opportunity to play e takes f4, and I wonder if you would like to evaluate this position, and I'll be back in a moment. So after knight takes f4, do you think white's doing very well, or is black okay? Okay, I think white's doing very well here. I think Engine likes white, but we'll do a second pass maybe for this game. It's quite interesting tactically to see what's going on here. I played king h7, which I thought was the best way of handling that. If I play queen e8, then I think he just takes on f5 and then plays rook e1, and I thought that would be quite embarrassing for the e6 square if nothing else. I didn't really like that. So king h7 is using the king for defensive purposes, potentially exposing the king to tactical threats. And in fact, he plays a4, clamping down on any b5 hint of an idea. And here I play knight g4. And when I played this, I thought, when he was thinking that actually this could be quite a dodgy move. Can you spot what white might have here to expose the ambitiousness of knight g4 as potentially being quite fragile there, although it might support the idea of bishop d4 check. Can you see a good move for white if I give you 10 seconds starting from now? Okay. Well, the move I was frightened of was knight takes g6, which we'll look in detail in the second pass. So if you played this intuitively, well done. It does expose the fragileness of the knight, but we'll check that out in detail second pass of this game. In the game he let me off the hook actually. He played knight d3 and I get a comfortable position now. I play queen f6. I'm threatening now queen d4 check, which is very pleasant. You know, c4 is loose. He plays knight e2 and now okay, he's threatening potentially bishop c3, but now I just go to e7, although you know, I could have in theory gone in one move. The knight's kind of not supporting e4 here, so this is quite useful. It's like I've gained a little bit of time putting pressure on e4. Okay, and taking on f5 will just give me a very comfortable looking position in many aspects. You know, bishop takes and I've got all my pieces coordinating, bishops blasting down, so that's pleasant. So actually he played h3, and this is very interesting tactically now. I didn't quite understand what was going on during the game. I thought it was going to be better. I didn't see what white was up to. I played f takes e4, and to my surprise he took the rook, and I don't have to automatically recapture this rook. I can take on d3. Surely, I thought that was great. I'm going to get two pieces at least for the rook. So I play e takes d3, and rook takes c8 just fails because, you know, d takes them. It's going to be take with a check. You know, if he took this, it's end of game. Basically, I'm getting loads of material. But in this position, he surprises me. I was expecting, I don't know what really I was expecting. I didn't understand this. He plays rook f4, so he's covering some things up here, like the d4 square with rook f4. Okay, I take on e2, and now queen b3, and it becomes sort of worrisome here that if I did play knight e5, okay, I've got material advantage, but what if he rounds up this pawn? It's not going to be that easy. In fact, we both kind of thought that white would have an easier to play position there, because this knight's kind of cut out for the moment, unless it can come back in the game. Now what I played is actually, I think it's quite a good move, and we'll see in the second pass that actually engines like this move as well, or the engine I have. What would you play here actually if I give you 10 seconds in this position as black? Okay, you might have just retreated the knight somewhere and accept the rounding up of the pawn. I mean, that's possible. Maybe black technically is okay, but I played a much simpler continuation, going for a much smaller advantage, but one which doesn't keep the position so complex. It's bishop d4. I give back two pieces for a rook, but I've got two pawns for it. So rook takes d4. It's unpalatable, of course, to think about anything else, allowing a check here. So rook takes d4, c takes. It takes on g4. I play bishop g4, and I'm protecting my pawn and winning another pawn. Two pawns up. I thought this was fine. Does he really want to take on b7? It seems a bit odd to do that. His queen's going to be away from the king. I can use the f file. And that's what really attracted me, this f file. It seemed really promising here. Actually, he plays queen d3, so he's basically two pawns down now. And I have two choices about d4 to protect with e5 or f6. And again, I think I played, probably by accident, the better choice, it seems. I was trying to weigh this up, how to protect this pawn. But I thought if queen e5, it does eventually run into bishop f4, not immediately, but rook e1 first, and then bishop f4. So I thought maybe it's just more efficient here to play queen f6. Let's try and make use of this f file. Try and get in onto f2 or even f1 if White's not careful. With that queen currently sort of protecting f1. If that pawn is supporting queen f1, that would be really dangerous. He plays rook e1, and I protect the pawn. Bishop e4, and I just really, in this position, think if only I can play move rook f8, but he's got bishop f4 if I do that. So I prepare that. I play king g7 because I want to play next, or soon, rook f8 and g5. He plays bishop f4, giving me the opportunity to play g5 here. And I mean, his position's lost now, and he just sacrifices this bishop. Nebulous compensation for this pawn here. I just play queen e5, and it's all over really. I'm 2 pieces up. I'll just get my knight to b4 and play b6, putting a break on White's pawns. But I was lucky. He resigned here. I was lucky. Knight g4 was the turning point of the game. It could have gone 2 very distinct ways. Let's have a look at it in the second pass. This game. So I think it was a surprise at choice of opening. Czech would only play like this quite aggressively. Resembles a kind of King's Engine, where you might sometimes play c5 the King's Engine to try and stop White's queenside aggressions. White's technically better. In fact, let's just see, did I actually play something absolutely terrible here with f5 and just give White an advantage here with e4 and then taking on f5? That's quite interesting. Maybe this isn't such a brilliant conception, because White could try and get control of e4 here. Might not be that great at all, this opening. It's a little surprise weapon. So here e4 is vulnerable and White's better. So maybe this isn't to be that recommended, I think, if this is really the case, that e4 in this position is strong. But if White doesn't play e4, then it seems Black's got a comfortable position. He played g3 and look at that advantage. It's minimal. So this is now a fair enough position, I think, for Black. Got away with it with this setup. Okay, bishop g5. Okay, f4 is mentioned as a move, but it's about the same as... Oh, let's check f4. What's going on here? E takes. This is all very interesting. Okay, far away from the game. No, let's not carry on there. It's too much. It's an engine line. Forget that. So h6, he just drops back. That's his idea, just to soften my king side. Knight a6. After castles, knight c7. f4, which looks fair enough. I mean, but there might be some other moves. f3, queen b3. f4, yes, maybe slightly weakening. ef, the engine recommends. Knight f4. Now queen e8 is actually mentioned, which I thought was bad. Let's have a look at queen e8 again. So say e takes f5. Is that anything to worry about? Bishop takes f5. Perhaps this isn't. In this position, queen f7 or queen d7. If queen d7, it seems Black's doing fine, technically, at this depth. Okay, it looks as though Black's bishops are active. It looks like an active position. Cross between Benoni and a Dutch defence kind of thing. So let's go back. I played king h7. After a4, knight g4, and we see the engine pouncing actually on knight g6, which I suspected. And we did go over this in post-mortem variations stemming from knight takes g6. So let's have a look. Bishop d4 I don't think really helps. Let's go with this. Takes. Now I thought bishop e4, but I think bishop e4 fails. So my analysis during his turn wasn't correct. Just rook takes f5, much simpler, undermining g4. If the king wants to come out to play, it's mate in 5. Okay, check. If the king moves here, check. King's going to get mated prettily. That's nice. Okay, and there's queen h4, mate. Okay. So that shows the dangers that this king can't come out here. If rook takes f5, then I'm just material down. Unfortunate, but true. If I move the king here, well, it's totally lost. Check. Lose the rook. If I play the rook, then I'm just material down by pawns. Well, even more than that. Maybe more than that. So it's like +6. So yes, it was a bit of a blitzy move, I think. This knight g4 just gets smashed. The knight takes g6. So a bit of luck here. Great bit of luck. That knight takes g6. Of course, he'd have to see. I mean, he was checking this out, but rejected it for some reason. So bishop d4. I mean, obviously we can't calculate as well as computers. This in this line, e takes, bishop takes, rook takes. It's just better for white. Even with knight f2 check here, it doesn't matter. Rook takes. We were looking at this, and in this position, we were checking in our post spot, and bishop e4 is winning. Maybe stronger than queen g4. We also did quickly check out queen g4. If king f7. Now apparently knight e4 is really strong with bishop f4. Where does this rook go? The rook's kind of trapped, isn't it? Can't come back that easily. So that's fair enough. I think we were checking some other stuff and not knight e4, but it's crunching. So not even bishop e4 is needed, but we're checking bishop e4. That's not as good, really. Check. Takes. Even this, though, this is grim as well for black. Yeah. So I was let off the hook there with knight g4. It's a 5-minute move, isn't it? Which I can't get rid of, actually, from my games. It seems to be, yeah, a great blitz player at the moment. Not so hot on long games. Damage has been done, I'm afraid. I just thought it looked good. Knight g4 looks good for bishop d4. Didn't really factor in knight g6 that much. But then to my horror, it started looking really good. I didn't even see rook f5. I saw the variations that I was seeing was bishop e4, but this fells. This actually fells what I thought was crushing, because I thought this queen g4 is now on. But actually check. The point is, bishop takes e4 is check here against the white king. This should be fine for black. Okay. So we both kind of miscalculated that knight takes g6 wasn't as good as it actually is. Knight d3. Now, funny enough, the engine likes some of my moves here. Queen f6 it actually likes. And after this it likes queen e7. I've played Houdini moves here, queen e7. It looks like a weakness of the last move, simple weakness of the last move. The knight's come off e4, put more pressure on e4. h3, and now I'm doing really well. F takes e4, yes, engine likes. Takes, engine likes. E takes d3, yes. Now the strongest move apparently is knight e3 here. Not d takes e2. Didn't really consider that, I don't think. Knight e3, apparently quite strong. So he takes. Well, I've got 2 bits for the rook and a nice e5 for my bishop, so that's cool. So let's go back. I played the other tempting move, d takes e2, quite good as well. Queen b3. Now another good move that the engine really likes that I played. Well, knight e5 is simple as well, but it just keeps a load of complexity on the board. Let's have a look at knight e5. Rook e1. I am losing that pawn. It's just much more difficult to play surely than the game. Although black is doing well here as well. The knight on e5 is nice as well. Okay, it's still good for black this, but even better is this continuation. The engine really likes, and I thought it was really good. Just bishop d4, or not so much now actually. It goes back to knight e5 at this depth. Bishop d4. Okay, he takes. After takes, bishop takes g4. I'm protecting my pawn. I'm 2 pawns up. Queen b7 given as the best move technically. Let's check this out. Queen b7. Queen takes b7. Only 1 pawn down. I thought rook f8 during the game was strong. Let's have a quick look at rook f8. So can white really afford to do this? Queen takes a7. I guess he can. It's going to be protecting f2 from that angle. And then I can't move queen e5, queen c7, check. Yes, this gives white a good chance. Now, yeah, we underestimated this intuitively. We both thought we're both sharing the same kind of intuitive thoughts here about this position, but actually, you know, queen b7 is the way to play this as white. Not worry too much about the pawn. It's not going anywhere for the moment. Get some material back. So he's consigned himself to 2 pawns down with this move, queen d3. Okay, so queen f6. Okay, it's might even be technically better than queen e5. And the rest is starting to be easy now. It could get relatively easy if I can just play rook f8. It looks to be crushing. So obviously, okay, 2 pieces down now. Okay, that was my first win of the over the board season. And actually, there is 1 or 2 losses I could go over as well, which I don't know. One of them I was very, very tired, and I blundered my queen and lost in less than 20 moves. And the other I was kind of more ground down, more respectable game. I think I'll start the one I was more ground down. So yeah, time to get the skeletons out of the closet. Now that I've won a game, oh dear, yeah, okay, it's all hopefully some value to you, even if I do get beaten up, and show all the ways I get beaten up as well. I don't want to just show my wins. That would be a nice ego trip, but let's be objective. Okay. Okay, comments or questions on YouTube for this one, but in the next few days we'll look at the other 2 maybe. Yeah, comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.